Hi, my name is Patricia Brown, owner of the Silvertop Diner. This is the battle between the Patricia Brown from the Silvertop Diner versus the city of Pawtucket, Rhode Island, over my dining car, the historic Silvertop Diner. My diner will be going up for auction tomorrow, October 5th, 2016. I'm sure after this video goes out, there'll be some people looking for my head, some powerful ones, and I really don't care because of everything they've done to me already. The Silvertop Diner was built in 1936. It's a Coleman dining car, the oldest one in all New England. It was located in the city of Providence, Rhode Island for over 60 years, open late night. The city of Pawtucket asked us to move to the city of Pawtucket after the city of Providence wanted to take the land and they wanted to redevelop, so they wanted the diner to move. So we'll start off with some pictures. This is a picture of me when I first opened up the diner. And then there's some more pictures of me at the diner cooking. And then we have a picture of the Silvertop Diner itself on the outside. And the city of Pawtucket sent a man named Herbert Weiss down to the diner, and he would come like 3 nights a week and talk to me for a couple of months, trying to coax me to go move my dining car to Pawtucket. The city of Pawtucket sent me an inducement letter. It was sent to Mr. Bernie Bonsavello and Pat Brown, because Bernie owned the building and I owned the business. This is the subject of relocating the Silvertop Diner to Pawtucket. They offered me a HUD loan for $100,000. On this it says payment for the loan will begin when the Silvertop Diner receives its certificate of occupancy to operate, which I never received. This is a picture of Mike Cassidy, who is retired right now, but he was head of the Pawtucket Planning and Developing Department. When Bernie and I went there, Bernie signed the building over to me, so I was going for the loan, and Bernie said to Mike Cassidy, "Pat's a cook and a waitress. She knows nothing about starting to rebuild this diner," because it was the dining car, needed to be put on a foundation, bathrooms built, kitchen built, and handicapped accessibility. So Mike said, "I will hold her hand like a baby. All she has to do is follow my lead. I've been doing my job for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. I will bring her all the builders, the architects, all the workers, bring everything to her that she needs." This paper here is what they're saying is my HUD loan paperwork. I never remembered trying to fill this out. It is not my handwriting. At the bottom it says the property owner is Bernie Bonsavello. Bernie's last name is spelled wrong. Then it says that Pat Brown is the tenant. What tenant do you know that could get a loan on somebody else's building? So I don't know who wrote this paper up. This is a picture of Kevin Horan. Kevin Horan was this Pawtucket city attorney. He's the one who wrote up all the loan documents, and he also wrote a UCC lien paper, which is taking my diner away from me. He hand wrote it because he didn't have an original one with him. So on it, he had me sign, but the date on it says March 2000 on my copy. When we went to court, Kevin's copy says 2002. He altered it, which violates the fair lending laws. Fair lending means that they can't change anything on your loan paperwork. If they go to change anything, even a small iota like a date, they have to call you in, you redo the paperwork all over again. So he was allowed to violate fair lending laws, and 2 judges knew that. This is Judge Kristen Rogers. She was the first judge in our first trial, which I won with the jury. I won $161,000, enough to pay off that supposed HUD loan, whoever signed for that, and enough money to move my dining car out of the city of Pawtucket. The first time I had seen that change date on the UCC paper that Kevin Horan had handwritten was when he came up to the stand and he said to me, "Do you recognize this paper? Did you sign this? Is that your signature?" And I said, "Yes, I have a copy of it, but the date's not altered on mine. Someone changed the date on that. That is my signature." I turned it around and I said to him, "But do you recognize your own handwriting? Didn't you write this?" And he admitted yes. So of course my attorney, Arthur Chatfield, spoke to the judge, and Kevin Horan should have been excused from that court because he's the attorney that wrote these loan papers up, but you're the attorney fighting us in court. That's a conflict of interest, but the judge shut up and down and let Kevin keep being the attorney. So at the end of the trial, when the jurors came in actually, and they asked, can they give me pain and suffering money? And Judge Rogers told them no. So out of the $161,000 reward, I could have moved the diner, paid that loan, and been done with this deal. A few weeks later, after the first trial, Judge Rogers calls us in, and she steps in as a 13th juror and overturned the jury. She said that she's stepping in for the 13th juror because she don't think I'm credible. Because she said that I don't sit straight. That was her reason. And nothing happened to Kevin Horan for changing the date on that paperwork and violating fair lending laws. She just let that pass by like he did nothing wrong. This is the judge in the second trial that we had, Judge Van Coogan. When questioning the jurors, they said they had a problem with paying me out of taxpayer money. That any award I would get would come from taxpayers. So Judge Van Coogan, when we asked to have the jury pass, said no, and he gave them a warning. That warning didn't work too well because we lost that trial. I can't believe people would rather see a city wrong someone, take their property, tell lies, forge paperwork, change dates, and wait until you get a look at all the conflicting evidence that there was. All the conflicting documents that Kevin Horan wrote up. This is Dennis Blotch. He was the second attorney for Pawtucket on the second trial that we had. The first thing he did was, I said something about God, and he looked at me and said, God's not in this courtroom. And then he proceeded with the jury with his opening statement. The first thing he did was lie, and the judge knew he was lying because the first Judge Rogers took my diner and took the award away from me. So now Pawtucket owned my diner. I wasn't allowed to go on the property. He started off his speech with, we don't know why Pat Brown left her diner in Pawtucket. It's hers. How come she hasn't come and get it? So he did a dead-faced lie right in front of the judge, and the judge said nothing. For what he said about God and his first lie, this next image is him. I call it Spawned from Hell because that's who he is. Let's start off with some paperwork. This is my copy of the UCC paperwork that doesn't have the date changed. As you see, it says March 2000. Next is Horan's altered copy that he changed to, say, 2002. This is a copy of the promissory note. It states payable upon the procurement of the certificate of occupancy for the Silvertop Diner or 9 months after the date of the signing of this promissory note. This is a copy of the Truth in Lending. It said loan will be repaid in 180 months. That would bring, if the diner opened when I got there, it would bring it to 2017. It says the first payment shall be due 30 days after the issuance of certificate of occupancy. Something I never received. This is a picture of the Silvertop as it was moving. It cost $22,000 to move that building. So the loan wouldn't go into effect until the diner hit ground in Pawtucket. So what I did was borrow $10,000 from Bernie to move the diner, and once it hit the ground in Pawtucket, $12,000 came out of the loan from HUD. So that made $22,000 to move that building. The city had told the people in Pawtucket that the diner was coming, but they didn't tell them where it was going. So normally the residents in the area would have time to fight me of putting the diner there. I think they have like 30 days to fight me. Since they didn't tell anybody, nobody knew where the diner was going. So the diner ends up going on Middle Street, which abuts the highway, I-95. It's like a 1.5 mile long road. It's got a few businesses, a lot of empty lots, junkyards, and just before the diner, there was a little bar called the Peddler's Inn. Around the bend from where the diner was going to be, there was 8 houses. Now, at the Silvertop, I don't sell alcohol, so being next to a bar, this guy's going to end up being a millionaire with this famous place sitting next to him. This is a picture of Donna Brady, a woman that lived around the bend from the diner. She had been a partner in the Peddler's Inn, but she took her name off of the bar. So now her ex-husband that owned the bar is going to be a millionaire. So Donna starts sticking it to me. She runs around, she's telling people in elderly housing, she's bringing rats, roaches, crime, and prostitution to Pawtucket. That people are going to be looking for the silver top late at night while they're breaking in your house. All kinds of crazy things like that. So who is Donna Brady? Well, she's retired now from Citizens Bank, where she was the head of the Foreign Affairs Department. She worked at Kennedy's office. She was the secretary or something. She worked in the mayor's office for the corrupt mayor of Pawtucket that went to jail. She put in through the city council for raises for the people in the mayor's office. She knew all the city council for years. She knew all the right people to go to stick it to Pat Brown. Here's a copy of the paper I found on the internet, like I found everything else all about her. And she's putting in for raises for the mayor's office, for his staff, with the city council. This is David Moran. He's the city councilman in the area of Middle Street, a good friend of Donna's. So the residents got their meeting. There was about 60 of them, and at this meeting I expressed that the diner had been open for over 60 years in Providence, and we were open third shift, that I'd like to get a third shift or 24-hour license, which the people didn't like, and they were arguing about that. But it wasn't like a meeting. It was like a mob of 60 people yelling and screaming things, like go and flip eggs until you get Copper Tunnel. So I was told that when I got my license to open the diner, that if I got my license to open the diner, it would be a regular city license for all restaurants, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. And that I had to prove myself a good neighbor before they would even think to let me have later hours in the middle of the night. When I saw how these people hated me, hated the diner, I did sit back a few months and just wonder, what the hell am I doing? Because I just come out of this big war in Providence. Now here I am in Pawtucket thinking everything was going to be okay, to find out all these people hated me and hated the diner. What would you do? So I sat back wondering, did I make the wrong move? What's my next move? Do I pick up this dining car and try and go somewhere else with it? So finally I ended up deciding to stick it out and see what we can make of it. Mike Cassidy brings me an architect, Steve Pedro, from AU Engineering. He does plans for the diner. Him and Mike tell me it's going to cost me $400,000 to build this place. So it goes out to bid, and they forgot to put the plumbing and electrical work in, so I had to go out to bid a second time, and 9 contractors walked out of the meeting for that. The reason was, looking at the paperwork, they knew it was no $400,000 building. It was $1.5 million. Mike Cassidy and Steve Pedro, who both done their jobs for 30 years, didn't know the difference between you're building a $400,000 building or $1.5 million. So now I don't know what to do. I get a copy of the paperwork, I go and see a contractor, and I talk to him. The contractor told me Steve Pedro has to fix his paperwork. He said no one's going to build a $1.5 million dining car, and when it says for $400,000, nobody's going to do that. It's not going to cost a contractor $1.5 million, and they're going to charge me $400,000. So he said Steve has to take this paperwork back. He has to redo it. He has to value engineer this job to make this diner buildable. He said a builder only goes by the plans the architect drew. So that I wasn't going to be able to get this diner built until Steve fixed the paperwork. So I went to see Steve. Steve looked at me and said, that's not my job. So now the city starts telling me I'm waiting for a business plan. There's nothing more I can do until I get this business plan. That they had someone writing up the business plan. So time is going by, and I keep calling every week. What's going on? Where's this business plan? This went on for 3 years with this business plan. Over 3 years it took to make this business plan. Most of the time when I called, I got Herb Weiss on the phone because Mike Cassidy wasn't there. And Herb would always tell me week after week, hundreds of times, Pat, they're doing the business plan. It takes time. Listen to what Mike told you. He told you he'd hold you by the hand and lead the way. Mike knows his job. He's been doing it for 30 years. All you have to do is listen to him. Well, I listened to him and he ran me into ruin. So then again, Evil rears its ugly face again. Donna Brady starts causing more trouble. She writes a letter to the city council, to David Moran. The gist of it says, I just wanted to confirm our conversation this morning that the neighbors on Middle Street that will be most impacted by the relocation of the Silvertop Diner will have the opportunity to meet with you prior to this issue going before the council. As I indicated to you, there seems to be some kind of misconception regarding our feelings about the diner locating on Middle Street. Though it is true that we had very strong objections regarding all-night operation, it is not true that we have no objection to the diner locating in our residential neighborhood and being allowed to remain open until 2 a.m. Just the traffic flow on a small one-way street is enough that anyone would question the location of a diner with large trucks as potential customers. I am not going to use this letter to voice all our concerns, as the proper time for that will be at our neighborhood meeting, so that you will be assured that these are feelings of the majority of my neighbors and not just myself. On a second matter, I would like to take this opportunity to express to you my total amazement in reading the invitation to bid that was printed in the paper for the relocation of the diner. I am sending this letter to you, but as well note, I am also forwarding a copy to the City Council and the Mayor's office, as I feel this is an issue that is much larger than a council district issue. So what is this telling you people? Can you see behind the lines? That this woman had a lot to do with why this diner never got built. Here again is David Moran. At one meeting, he screamed, "Get that diner the F out of my city." Now let's get back to that business plan. They said they hired Rick Lefferts from Commonweal Collaborative. He was a company out of Massachusetts. This is images of things I found on him. It says his company is involuntary dissolution by court order. I don't know if that means a court ordered it, but I know that the state of Massachusetts closed that down. When Mike Cassidy was on the stand in 2015, he stated that Rick Lefferts had a business on the second floor of City Hall, and on the door it says Commonweal Collaborative, and that's his office. I checked the state of Rhode Island. There's no such business in the state of Rhode Island, so I suppose somebody better get over to City Hall and scrape that name off the door, because this guy has no license to be in business. So this is a copy of 2016 Pawtucket's Business Development Corporation paperwork, and it says the consultant is Rick Lefferts, Commonweal Collaborative. Now let's get to that business plan that Rick Lefferts wrote up. Here's the front cover. I went into the bank with this, and the banker looked at me and said, "Who wrote this piece of crap? If I show this to my boss, I'd get fired because they're never giving you a loan on this." She said, "You've been set up to take a fall." First off, let's look at this. It says business plan. I'm going to bring that close up so we can see a little bit more what it says. It says this report was prepared by Commonweal Collaborative on behalf of Pawtucket Business Development Corporation. The report is considered property of Pawtucket Business Development Corporation and not to be used for any other purpose without the express approval of the PBDC. Originally, a business plan, that should have said, not made for the city of Pawtucket. That should have said, prepared for Pat Brown for the Silvertop Diner. First mistake. Inside, one part says that Pat Brown has a following, a cult-like following. So more or less, you wouldn't write something like that in a business plan to go to a bank. A banker doesn't want to hear, I have a cult that, what are they trying to say? I'm a devil worshiper? I got Donna Brady saying I'm bringing prostitution to Pawtucket so that must be a madam. And then we have Rick Lefferts here saying that I'm a devil worshiper because I have a cult. This is my wonderful attorney and friend, Arthur Chatfield. Arthur did a good fight. He put his heart and soul into this. He done this case pro bono when he looked and seen everything that they were doing wrong to me. He stepped forward and he helped me. He fought a good fight, He knew what he was doing. He won that first trial until the judge overturned the jury. But we won fair and square, and she took it away from us. Thank you, Arthur, for all your hard work.